Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Laura Prada from the Telesur Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. We begin in Venezuela, where the President Nicolás Maduro gave an interview to the international news channel Russia Today, where he addressed the issue of the situation in the country. The president said that the ultimatum given by countries of the European Union regarding elections in Venezuela violates all international law.
The ultimatum is a false step. International relations in the 21st century can't function with ultimatums or with behaviors that violate all international law and the right to coexistence. I think it's a mistake of political and moral diplomacy character that leaves very bad to the government that in Europe have recognized something that does not exist.
Maduro also noted that recognizing the deputy of the National Assembly in contempt, Juan Guaidó, as acting president by some countries is a coup plan directed from the White House. Let's hear.
In Venezuela, there is only one government elected by the people's vote, in a constitutional manner judged according to this constitution, and in the full exercise of functions and power, and that government, I assume. Everything else that is tried to impose a simple coup, it's a shame that some governments of Europe obey a plan made from Washington.
Before the plans made from different nations to celebrate early presidential elections, the president explained that according to an electoral schedule, only parliamentary elections could be held earlier. Let's listen.
The only elections that are pending in Venezuela are the parliament ones. According to the constitutional schedule, could be in 2020. I have proposed to call for advanced elections from the parliament by the National Assembly Constitution. The presidential elections have not completed even a year. We have done 25 elections in 20 years.
Now we contact our correspondent Luis Tavera, who has more details on this topic.
Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro conducted an interview with the Russian news agency explaining the attempted coup d'etat. He also explains the psychological warfare that currently exists in the country against the citizens, which bombards the Venezuelan people with constant false news through social networks. Also, the president explained how Guaidó self-proclaimed president and how it has been destabilizing the political climate in Venezuela. Despite all, President Nicolás Maduro said that the doors for a dialogue are still open.
And during the International Congress Pedagogy 2019 that takes place in Havana, Cuba, delegates, assistants, and teachers expressed their concern about the political situation in Venezuela. The teachers defended the right of the Venezuelan people and government to self-determination and rejected any attempt to subvert order in that country, which they say will affect the peaceful development of the educational process. The Venezuelan delegation highlighted the educational advances made by the Bolivarian Revolution and the ones that they brought to the nation. In the meeting that will be taking place until next Friday and gathers more than 600 delegates from 42 countries.
We ask for the respect of the sovereignty of the country is maintained, and that the educational process of children who are the future of the country is not impacted in a negative manner, so their routines are maintained normally.
Education is an instrument for peace. We are currently challenging difficulties because the United States empire is dealing with our freedom and sovereignty. The situation is that there is a people who defends his sovereignty and fights for free country.
And the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan accused the U.S. government and some European countries to attack democracy in Venezuela. The head of Turkish state pointed out that Washington, with the European Union and Latin American coalition, take an illegal decision by recognizing the opposite deputy Juan Guaidó as an assumed president in charge of Venezuela. Erdogan criticized the form as they have executed the inherential actions, which contradict their own expressions of democracy. The Turkish mandatory assured that the constitutional government of Nicolás Maduro was re-elected through liable votes.
What is happening in Venezuela at this moment? Venezuela is your state. A choice. And how can the presidency assume another person who has never been chosen? Where is democracy? It was not democracy. What kind of business is this? Can a concept happen like this? The Union has been revealed democracy. On the side, they repeatedly say democracy and elections, and then they are going to overcome the government on the deception and force.
And Russia has denounced the alarming situation in Venezuela following recent actions taken by some European countries. Russia's Chancellor Sergei Lavrov indicated that Moscow sees as alarming the situation in the South American nation as a result of a series of violations of the principle of non-interference on internal affairs of a sovereign state. Lavrov warned that Venezuela faces the same destabilizing maneuver to promote a government change that the United States has run in other countries. The head of Russia's diplomacy assured that the only way out of the situation that the South American country crosses is ratifying a dialogue between the government and the opposition. Like this, we've come to the first break hearing from the South. Make sure you follow us on social media, on Twitter. You find us as @Laura P. Telesur and, of course, @Telesur English.
The Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali examines the mass media influence promoted by imperialism. Get access to the analysis of the socio-economic and political life of the whole South America on our screen and platform in English. A critical place committed to the truth to determine the major events that transform the world today. Mondays. Only on Telesur.
And we are back. More than 90 different forest fires broke out on Sunday night across Chile, with the worst of the blazes registered in the southern Araucania region. According to Chile's Interior Ministry, at least 2 people have died, dozens were injured, while many houses have also been destroyed. Residents have called out urgent help from the government, especially to President Sebastián Piñera, who they say is consumed by the situation in Venezuela and is not paying attention to his own country. And Chile has said final farewell to plastic bags in supermarkets and other leisure stores. After a 6-month trial, Chile has introduced a total ban in an attempt to combat pollution. Now there is a $300 fine for those who break the law, but the ban doesn't apply to traditional markets. Chile produces 3 billion plastic bags each year. And around 1,700 migrants have arrived at the Mexican border city hoping for passage to the United States through the Eagle Pass border crossing. Buses have helped transport a group of migrants to temporary shelters in the city. Previous caravans have been seeking to cross into California, being this the first time a large group of migrants from the caravan now hope to cross into Texas. U.S. President Donald Trump has hardened his stance on immigration and specifically against the caravan of migrants. He has also said any migrants seeking asylum will have to wait in Mexico whilst their claim is heard.
El Salvador is really besieged by gangs. Congress doesn't call them gangs anymore, but has declared them terrorists. And they treat me, and basically you could say that they control a large part of the country's territory.
Now to other world news, the French parliament approved an anti-records law with which they hope to solve the social and political crisis that the Yellow Vest movement exposed. The law project that will make illegal that protesters hide their face was approved by the National Assembly with a majority of 387 votes, while 92 voted against and 50 deputies were abstained. Additionally, it will facilitate that the forces of the law use facial recognition technology to pursue and process protesters. The measure has been criticized because it attempts against civil liberties of citizenship and is only a patch covered to cover the critical situation that France is going through. The project of law will be sent to the Senate on March 12 for second part of the vote. And at least 10 people were killed after a provoked fire in Paris on Tuesday. A woman was arrested on unknown charges to provoke the fire. According to fire service spokesman Clement Cognon, emergency services were called to the site of fire at 1 in the morning to find the 8-story building engulfed by fire. Firefighters, ambulances, and other emergency workers were seen at the scene of the blaze in the 16th arrondissement in the French capital. And activities were held across China in the country's celebration of a spring festival on Tuesday, the first day of the Lunar New Year. In East China, Xinjiang province, the popular water town Wunshen hosted a variety of activities to enrich tourist cultural experience during the festive season. People enjoyed to dress in their best traditional costumes and silver headdresses, dance to tunes played by men on the lanchan. In ancient times, people worshipped fires for deities, thus the custom of offering sacrifices to the gods of earth and fire were common.
It's good to have these dolls hanging around, very festive, and it fits the charm of a place with lots of water.
The last 2 years, our village has felt different. These activities cheer villagers up and change the mental outlook of our village.
Time for a short break, but stay tuned.
Enjoy our programming from Monday to Friday, where you'll find the best information on culture, innovation, conservation, human well-being. Keep up to date on the latest innovations in science and technology with Atomun. The habits and knowledge you need to live a healthy lifestyle are on Guide Your Body. Environmental consciousness is required to preserve our Earth Undergo your transformation on Green Zone. All about equity, diversity, and respect for identities on By Gender, cultural manifestations, the art in all its forms, and the stories of real lives. Every day we feature a wide variety of content, only on Telesur, the news source from Latin America and the Caribbean.
And we are back. Elections in South Africa are red hot because of the intensity with which the political parties are disputing the votes of the electorate. These are the fifth elections held since the start of democracy in 1994.
We want jobs now, we are hungry now, we want to eat now. That's why our message is very simple.
The countdown to what is dubbed the most contentious election has started. The radical far-left Economic Freedom Fighters, a breakaway party of the ruling ANC, says it's now business unusual and is promising to eradicate the high unemployment rate, chief among many social ills. The campaign rally took place in the country's capital.
They live in a capital city, yet they still have pit toilets. How can you have pit toilets in a capital city?
It says the legacy of apartheid is standing in the way of emancipation of the disadvantaged black people. He adds that corruption in the state security agencies made the situation even worse.
We must expose corrupt police who are working with drug lords here in Soshanguve, in Western Cape, in Northern Cape, and in all areas where we have problems of drugs.
Political commentators say the EFF, with only 6% of the national vote from the previous election, will not unseat the governing party, but will certainly continue to challenge the traditional politics. They say the priority for anyone who will be in the seat of government come May this year is addressing inequality.
Think of themselves as living in one country, of having the same sense of identity and being. We know that that happens in those societies where there is greater equality. So in places like Sweden and Denmark and Finland and Iceland, it's not just that the populations are what many people think of as homogeneous, is that they're also economically equal. And these societies were very poor and unequal 100 years ago. South Africa has had 25 years since its independence from and liberation from apartheid. And yet, far from becoming more equal, it has in some senses become even more unequal.
The Economic Freedom Fighters is also not the biggest political party in this country, but an important player in political landscape, putting pressure on the ruling ANC to deliver on its promises from when Nelson Mandela became the first black democratically elected president. Telesur, Pretoria.
And this Tuesday, the Egyptian Parliament Committee approved the constitutional amendments proposed that would allow President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to remain in power and drive under his control the judiciary. The approval is the first step needed to advance with the constitutional changes, which must be approved by 2/3 of the members of the parliament and then be subject to popular consultation. The amendments presented include an extension of the presidential period of 6 years to 4, in Article 140 of the Constitution and a transitional clause which potentially would allow Sisi to keep in power up to 2034. Also, the proposed changes also grant to al-Sisi new powers on the appointment of judges and prosecutors. And a spokesman of the Israeli army that keeps the Gaza Strip under siege since 2007 made the Palestinian movement Hamas responsible of the severe social needs caused by the siege. Details with Nayara Tardo.
The Gaza Strip remains under siege by Israel since 2007, but today Israeli military agencies are minutely controlling the Palestinian territories occupied by Tel Aviv, accusing Hamas that maintains hunting street control. According to the Israeli military agency, there is an increase in the number of Palestinians in Gaza requesting medical treatment abroad since Israel has had a complicated situation in hospitals, as it is hundreds of patients about to lose their lives, between them a great number of children.
Thank you, Nayara. And this Tuesday, the First Minister of Greece, Alexis Tsipras, arrived to Turkey to meet with his peer Recep Tayyip Erdogan as part of his official visit to the Eurasian nation. On the two-day visit to Ankara, Tsipras and Erdogan will talk about topics like economic cooperation, improvement of bilateral relations, energy prospections in the island of Cyprus, and the migratory agreement signed in 2016.
We call again the attention of our Greek friends on our expectation of the extradition of FtS member. We hope more cooperation of our next Greece.
Regarding this visit, our correspondent Aitor Savarri with the details.
Today, the First Minister, Alexis Tsipras, has held a meeting with the Turkish President Erdogan and the Vice President Fuat Oktay. This meeting is part of the official visit of the First Minister of Greece in Turkey. During the 2 days of meeting, they talk about different conflict topics between both countries on economic cooperation and the migratory agreement signed in 2016. They also have spoken on the 8 Turkish soldiers who were detained with the Greek justice. Tsipras has stated its compliance with his subjects, but it has indicated that the government can't do nothing about it. The two mandates have commitment to improve the relationship between both countries.
Thank you, Aitor. And like this, we've come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net, where of course you can find another opinion articles and of course Telesur's special interviews. Continue with Telesur, connecting the global south. Until next time, thank you for watching.